Hello and welcome to today's episode of Authentic Achievements, where it's my very great privilege to be joined by the fabulous John Lanier. John, welcome.
Thank you, Kim Adele. I've been very much looking forward to this and am ready to go.
Fabulous. I'm so looking forward to it too. But before we get stuck in, let me share a little bit more about John with the wider audience. So John excels at sharing profit rainmaking super trends, which enables companies to go up against Goliaths and win. He's a popular speaker with his highly effective program, Profit Rainmaking, 7 Universal Truths to Loyal Customers, Exceptional Operations and Inspired Teams. John is CEO and founder of Middle Market Methods, a powerful consulting firm founded in 2006, working to dramatically reduce execution risk and double companies between $25 to $250 million in sales. He's known as a resultant, as clients have coined, and his second book, Profit Rainmaking, is due out next year. Wow, John, I mean, there's so much in there that I can't wait to dig into. But could you bring that to life a little bit more for us and share your journey so far?
Certainly. There's a term traceable to a popular cartoon some years ago called pound puppies. And I refer to myself as a pound puppy because you just can't get papers on me. My life has had a lot of very interesting twists and turns, including interesting personalities, and the odds of me as a teenager heading to college saying this is what I'm going to wind up doing 40 years from now, I wouldn't have even known what it was. But I've been truly, truly blessed by being in the right place at the right time, more times than I can count. And one of the things that motivates me is what got me here. A lot of people took me under their wing, mentors, coaches, great leaders, great bosses. And they were in pay forward mode because they helped me appreciate something. And as part of my own mantra is pay forward, and that no one is self-made. That's a myth. Mm-hmm. It is a wonderful thing to know a lot of good stuff that can help people, but it doesn't get much traction unless somebody coaches you along the way about things that you and I might call marketing channel. How do you get exposed?
Yeah.
And they never ask for anything in return other than your time's coming, pay forward. So here I sit. So my initial academic foundation was in finance, and serendipitously I got exposed to process and realized that I'm a process nerd, as one of my friends dubbed me. And the two are highly complementary, but understanding how things work with an eye toward making it better. We all have to be more productive over time, and it just sort of works. So here I am, and it continues to be fun. And if that happens up until the second I take my dirt nap, it's been a wonderful life.
Oh, I love that. And I love that life sometimes has a plan for us that we can't see. And we're that busy trying to control it, aren't we? That actually, when we just let it go, we go, oh, wow, look at the doors that have been opened. And
exactly.
The fact that we can have adjacent skill sets that actually work so complementary, like finance and operation, like being it, because one of the things that I've seen over the years is very often the people that are really, really good at the financials can tell you what the plan is, but they can't turn the plan into something actionable, something that you can actually take steps to. So having somebody like you that can do both sides of that to say, actually, this is where we're going. And actually, here's how you can get there. And here's the levers that we can pull that will allow us to get there faster or more efficiently must be invaluable. But for me, one of the bits that's really interesting is in that loyal customers, because I think, unless we get it right for our customer, we're not going to get it right for the rest of the organization and for ourselves. So what is a loyal customer?
There's no single metric, but there's a concept, and it begins with how one's unique value proposition resonates. And it's a conversation I have often with middle market companies. So what is your value proposition? And some have not thought about it the same way I encourage them to think about it. And the definition is, in my terms, it's the reason why customers voluntarily exchange their cash for your goods or services. They voted you as opposed to some alternative. Why? And understanding that is essential for a lot of reasons. One, if you're in a highly fragmented market, there may be no norm yet. So you may be running safely in the herd, but the definition of stable markets is a couple of dominant players at some point. And at that point, somebody else is making the rules. So understanding that and transforming it into our operational shtick, our strategic priorities, and our execution is imperative. So why do customers buy from us? And if we design everything we do, everything they feel, everything they perceive in us as beneficial to them, not only does it create utility for them, that I'm better off with your product than without it, but it's easy to do business with you. And then and that speaks to voice of the customer. And another thing that I commonly encounter that's worth noting is unless there is some objective mechanism that approximates something like Net Promoter Score, you may not know you have at-risk customers, because this is something that's hard to comprehend. And I had to get over it myself, having toted a bag, a material portion of my career, is that when you're real close to somebody personally, and everybody loves close personal relationships, it is very hard for your customer, your friend actually, to tell you that you're not performing.
Yeah.
But they will tell somebody else one way or another, either by displacing you because they just can't afford to do business with you anymore. And as odd as that sounds, that's the path of least resistance for conflict averse people, as opposed to saying, look, John, hint, hint, you could do better. And so we have to always be on guard for that. So ultimately, and thank you for indulging this circuitous path, but there's method to the madness in that the ultimate metric is a recurring revenue stream. That is repeat business with customers who choose us for their reasons.
Yeah.
I think we need to know their reasons. It maps typically to four things. It's value. That means, did I get what I paid for? It's quality. That, say, reliability. It does what it's supposed to do. It's timeliness, in that I have it when I want it, not when you said I could get to it, but when I want it. And all these things have incredible implications. And then the fourth one is service, the hardest of all to measure, but it basically means when some combination of those first three do not perform, it's how quickly you acknowledge that it's your fault, Mr. Vendor, and how fast you remediate the issue. And the stats behind this would suggest that if you just act accountable, you got about a 50-50 chance of salvaging it. But if you quickly address what is wrong, it jumps to about 75%. And to this, if I can weave in an anecdote from one of my favorite clients. If you've been around as long as I have, you have some great war stories. But this guy, he trained his people. He said, anytime a complaint comes in above a certain financial threshold, he said, automatically transfer the call to me. Said, what? You got a day job? He said, I don't have a bigger day job than making sure we keep customers. So they did it. And he said, John, over the years, and he's a data nerd, so he tracks this stuff. He said, I found some interesting things that are statistically valid. Number one, I spend more time convincing them that I'm the CEO of the company than I do fixing the problem. Dude, that's sort of funny, but you think about it. It's funny, but it's not funny. And another thing, he said, I ask, first of all, I listen. He said, I ask, how do you want this fixed?
Yeah.
And he said, John, without exception, I have immediately agreed to what they wanted. I said, okay, hook, set. What? Tell me, talk to me. What he said, they always ask for something that's less expensive than I would have been willing to do. Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that. He demonstrated everything I just shared. I was accountable. Okay, I heard you. I'm gonna fix this. How do you want it fixed? It's done. And did he have repeat business? Oh yeah. But he backed into something, and what I didn't ask him is how did you back into this? Because I'd never seen it before. So shame on me. I should have gotten a root cause out of this. But these are the people that I help people, but I learn as much as I teach. And isn't that a wonderful thing? And it keeps me, I just can't wait to wake up, and I'll stick with people until they just keel over because, John, it's midnight. Enough already for one day. I love this stuff.
I think we're kindred spirits because I do as well. I live the fact that I get to do this for a living and learn amazing things from my guests, and all of it is that ongoing evolution. And it reminds me of a time. So I was UK head of sales, so you can imagine how this next bit went. And I stood up at a town hall and said, the first thing you need to know is nobody actually wants our product. And I think my boss particularly, they all stood there and were like, what? Get her off. And I was like, let me explain what I mean. We're an accounting software company. So unless they're an accountant, they did not go into business to do accounts. So they need our product. They've got they've got requirement, but stop trying to create a want in them. We're not going to be the next Apple. No one's going to sleep out overnight for the next release because we're a necessity, not a desire. So start understanding the necessity and sell to that, because that's going to be where you really connect with them. But while you're trying to create a desire in them to get excited about lock date or something else, it's not going to happen. It's not what they're engaging with us for. And the only way we're going to know that is if we listen, if we actually go and listen to them and go, what is it you really need? And then if we did all of that for you, what else what else would you love? What's on your desire list? Because at the moment we're still at needs. But so I love that actually what you're asking, you're sharing with people to do is to go and do that, to listen to understand rather than to listen to interject with how you're going to solve all the problems of the world that they don't know they've got yet. So how do people learn that? How do people learn to be able to just listen?
Oh, I love the question. I truly love the question. And for someone who loves to share as much as I do, it is a challenge because I want to help. But here are things I learned again from people who took me under their wing. And the theme here is sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And I've become a fan over time of the critical thinking question. And I think Einstein's one who made this popular. It's more important to ask the right question than to know the right answer.
Absolutely.
But I live this, and I've backed into two really, really good questions to help. And if the objective is to be a trusted advisor, which is something I prefer over thinking I've got every arrow in the quiver that mankind needs, no. I want to make it simple for my clients. If they've got a problem, that I'm a trusted advisor, call John. Why? Because if he doesn't know how to do it, he knows somebody who knows how to do it, and it's simple. He made my life simple. Well, that you earn a trusted advisor. One of the ways you earn it is never write checks with your lips that your tuchus can't cash. So know what your value proposition is. But in the course of listening, and I'm a continual student, and one of the principles here I want to elevate is something in Covey's 7 Habits, which is it should be on everybody's bookshelf. Seek first to understand, then be understood.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That's a Socratic technique. And two of my favorite questions, which the stats are incredibly high, that you'll get something. And the first one I start with is, what keeps you up at night? The premise may be, I'm here you know what I do, or I'm going to make sure you know what I do, but I want to first know what you're dealing with, because it may be that that cuts to the chase, or I can introduce you to somebody. So what keeps you up at night? What do you mean? I said, well, there are things relative to you getting from here to here. What's on the short list? I'm listening. And then be quiet. Every now and then, that one doesn't elicit a response for a simple reason. And all this is psychology. Vulnerability is a big deal. You don't get anything done until you're vulnerable, but until you're trusted, there is no vulnerability.
Yeah.
So I have a backup question. Okay. You walk in tomorrow morning. This one's funny, and this one bats 1,000, by the way. You walk in tomorrow morning, the place is 3 times as big. Could you run it the same way? And here's what's funny. There is an immediate emotional outburst, commonly punctuated with profanity. And then there's a look of sheer terror in their eyes for, what did I just tell you? And I said, no. I want to know what just popped in your head, because that's probably one of those things that keeps you up at night. Let me see if I can help you. Tell me more. And then you go quiet again. And there's another thing in there that some of our mutual friends would appreciate and say is that nobody wants to be sold.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to buy. It's just we have to understand their algorithm for how they get there. But those open-ended questions are like keys getting through security. It's if you're really paying attention and you ask the right questions in the right context. It may not happen in a visit. It may happen over time, but if it's a good opportunity, it's worth it.
I love that. Sorry, the dog's decided he loves it too, so he's joining in with his conversation.
Hey, we're dog people. We're rescue people.
It's so true, isn't it? You've got to get to help the people. My dad, God rest his soul, was a double glazing salesman, which was, everyone has an opinion about what they were, but he always said to me, you should never ever sell to anybody. You should let them buy from you. And because if you sell to them, they're going to be the most unhappy customer because they're already on the back foot. He said, so you've got to do the extra work. You've got to do the harder piece, which is understand what it takes for them to buy, and then decide whether or not you can achieve that. And to your point, don't write checks that you can't deliver. So if you don't promise them something that you can't, that you can't promise them. And I think always held me in good stead for every role, because for me, one of my beliefs is that as a leader, my people, if they don't buy me as a leader, if they don't buy what I can give them to help them drive their career, they won't maintain me as a leader for very long. They'll vote with their feet and go somewhere else. So we've got people that we're trying to connect with, that we're trying to make loyal, not just in our end client, but as in, who is the client? Is it the customer and the product and the service, or is the customer the colleague that we're trying to lead and develop and grow? And if we seek to understand in all of those, then actually we end up with all the knowledge we need to make the right choices, don't we? And become, to your point, that trusted advisor.
The essence of servant leadership is to make your client the heroine or hero of every story.
Yeah.
And when they get comfortable that you are there to help them. And as a quick aside, I gotta punctuate this with this point. The biggest deals, if you will, that I don't really like that term, but the biggest win I ever put on the board had nothing to do with business. It resulted in business, and one of the biggest in my career, but it was solving a personal problem. And it had to do with entering a meeting and recognizing something was terribly wrong, that the affect was in crisis mode. And I said, I'm going to ask for an opportunity to be a little personal here. I perceive that something is not right today. And my spidey sense tells me business is not what we should talk about today. Can I help you with anything? And it was a very emotional thing, and it had to do with a family crisis. And this was Providence. The thing I could help him with, I had just experienced by proxy with my boss.
Wow.
And I said, or I asked, I said, look, I understand, haven't experienced it personally, but I know someone who went through something really, really similar recently. And this is almost eerie that it's like deja vu all over again. When you have an opportunity to say you're ready, I'd be happy to introduce you. And I don't, you don't need to tell me a thing from there on. And he did it. And my boss, who's a wonderful human being at that time, helped him like he was ushering him through as a concierge at a 5-star hotel. And the problem was solved in 90 days.
Wow. Wow.
It resulted in economics eventually. That wasn't my motivation, but that's what we're talking about here. It's the essence of servant leadership is making somebody the heroine or hero of the story. And sometimes it's not business.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most important stuff isn't business, but getting back to the trusted advisor status, you're demonstrating, I think, in very intimate terms that you care about them as a human being above and beyond business. And wouldn't the world be a better place if that were our primary motivator and not agency theory? Let me think about
it. John, I couldn't agree more. I think it's that's the most important thing, is that we recognize that, it's people first. I had a client I was talking to the other day, was like, can business is tough? And I was like, it is. So, chat to me. And he was like, well, I've got suppliers and they're people, and I've got business partners, people, colleagues, people, clients, people, regulators. Even regulators are people. I said, what you've got is a people problem. So we need to understand what is going off in their worlds that's causing the disconnect. Where is it that they're feeling undervalued or unlistened to or unsupported? Because once we understand that, we can fix it. We can identify those and we can bridge them together. And I think sometimes when we look at that piece of saying, how do I leave this interaction knowing that I added some value?
Yes.
That's my mantra in life. For every interaction, did I leave any value? Because that's my reason for being. And as long as I can say yes, even if all it was to make them feel better, then actually I can go, it was a positive interaction, that I left them with a feeling of increase as a result of me having been present for them. And I think for me, that's the piece that's coming through loud and clear, is that you're being truly present with them and you're putting their agenda ahead of yours. So if you had gone in with your agenda ahead, you might not ever have had the grace to give the person the space to deal with what was going on in their world right now. But you didn't. You had their agenda as your number one, which is why you're leaving them with that sense of increase. And that point that you said earlier around, being able to say, actually, if John doesn't know how to do it, John will know somebody who will. But equally, what John will give me is presence. He will be intentional with me and give me the gift of listening. I have a friend who says listening is an act of love, because very often we don't listen to understand, we listen to interject. But when somebody truly just listens with no agenda, we feel loved, don't we? We feel loved and supported, and who doesn't want to spend more time with someone who makes us feel like that?
Sometimes it's just being there. And as I was listening to what you were sharing, all of us have been in situations when somebody had a family crisis. It might have been a catastrophic event, like terminal illness, or even ultimate death in the family. And it's awkward. And people are quite capable. One of my many jobs growing up was I worked for my uncle, the undertaker, but I learned a lot I
Yeah.
should say but. And I learned a lot from my uncle about empathy. Today we call it EQ.
Yeah.
But he said, we are serving people who need to rely and trust on our empathy in their emotional time. And he said, whoever we're serving, they're somebody's son or daughter,
Yeah.
could be lateral cousins, could be vertical grandparents, kids. Said, but just be careful. Sometimes saying nothing is better.
Yeah.
And what I learned is I don't know what to say. I'm just here.
Yeah.
And because how many times have we been in a setting when something is the personal stakes are just outlandishly high and something profoundly stupid is said that makes a bad situation worse. And
Yeah.
it's something one of my mentors shared, like I shared earlier. I'm here because some people wanted me to develop. And it said, John, never miss a good opportunity to shut up.
I love that. I love that. That is
So
that is
I'm a byproduct of a lot of people, and I hope I've given them a good return on their investment.
I love it. And I think it's true. I mean, one, we need those mentors, don't we, to help us become the best version of ourselves. But equally, being comfortable with silence is a true gift, because we're not taught to be comfortable with silence, are we? We know that the minute I stop speaking, you're going to have to start. So now I'm getting nervous about what am I going to say, and that's what I'm thinking about, because actually what I can't do is just leave the silence. And yet once we're able to be comfortable with that and give that gift to somebody that says, I'm going to sit with you in silence until you need something different from me, or you want to tell me something, or you want to go somewhere else. It is such a gift, but it's not easy to do, is it? To learn to do that whole part that's going, don't really know what to say. But to your point, if you don't know what to say, saying nothing is in my experience 100% the right thing to do. Because if you don't know what to say, whatever you're going to say probably won't have the impact that you intended.
In the subject of customers, where we started, in the realm of sales, something flashed in my mind. And by the way, type A salespeople wrestle with what you just shared. It's like a big bear in a small cave. Another one of the colorful people I've had the pleasure of supporting, he admonished his salespeople, don't show up and throw up. And he got their attention. He was the consummate professional, and that he set the hook. He said, now let me explain what that means. So in practical terms, what he ended up conveying to his charges was, you must first understand what their issue is and pray that it's something we offer, or else we're going to be doing what I talked about, being the trusted advisor and refer it to somebody. He said, but when you understand their problem and you can establish that your benefits, your proposed solution, the benefits address that, it may be enough. And if it is, write the order and leave. He said a lot of, and this is, again, this is part of what I help people think about, is very commonly, by the way, only a small fraction of the universal sales force of mankind is trained in how to sell. Not to be confused with product knowledge, but I'm talking about this technique we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it is a tell, if you ever watch people, is they confuse features and benefits. And you can close a lot of good business without ever mentioning a feature. It should only be pulled into the conversation when it needs use for substantiating how benefit is derived. Otherwise, you may be muddling the message and losing a sale. Because another thing this same colorful character says is don't buy it back. So it was basically saying, understand what they need. If you have it, propose it, as a potential solution, with the benefits addressing what they said was their issue. Only mention features if they said, well, how do you do that? I don't get this piece. That's when you use the features. But when they agree, don't buy it back. And he was saying something else. The longer you stay in the room after you agreed to something, your profitability always goes down. Says, oh, I forgot to ask this. I forgot. So this was a master. He was an absolute master, great personality, very good teacher, which is another phenomenon in sales that's unusual, is rainmakers do not necessarily make great sales managers.
Yeah.
If they're that good, they end up competing with the very people they're supposed to be managing because they really would prefer to be an individual contributor. And that's the problem in business cultures is why in the world would you screw up your best rainmaker if they love what they do? They may be miserable as a sales manager. And that's a function of leaders understanding what career pathing looks like for all their great people. It's don't assume anything. Why don't we ask them, what do you love doing?
And why don't we give them that similar reward, isn't it? Because actually people often take that step because they want to be able to earn more. Whereas if you made it available that they could earn the same where they are because they add more value where they are, people might make very different choices because we've not created that choice. John, I could literally chat to you all day, but I'm really conscious of time. We've only scratched the surface. So I'll have to get you to come back on. But before we go, could I ask if you could go back and share with your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, very simple. It's even on a plaque behind me in my office. Excellence always improves. Excellence always improves. And what I mean by that is if you have something novel, all products commoditize over time. So Andy Grove said something effective and wrote a book about it. Only the paranoid survive. Everybody's cheese moves. Everybody's. So understanding where we started, understanding what the customer wants, continuing to ask, what can I do better? What can I do better? But not only that, it's the UX is a popular term in software, the user experience. Is it easy to do business with us? What would they like to see done differently? So that excellence, we may be spending a lot of money in operations on things that the customers do not value at all. Well, why are we doing it? Well, we've always done it that way. That's not a good answer. So that maniacal devotion to doing something better increases our odds of being here tomorrow. And if you read The Origin of Species, it's the same principle. Darwin was basically saying we evolve or we go extinct. So if in your head is that excellence is a journey, not a destination. And if you are just absolutely maniacally devoted to doing something better and asking your customer, how can I do it better from your perspective? You're on the right track. So that's my aphorism. It's excellence always improves. I wake up thinking about it. I practice it all day long, and I go to bed thinking about it. And I'll keep doing that until I take my dirt nap.
Amazing. I love that. It reminds me a little bit of my nan always used to, my nan and granny gave me two great bits of advice. My nan's was make every day a school day. So in every day, learn something. And my granddad's was live each day as if it's your last and one day you'll be right. But I think what he actually meant was don't put off. So in every day, make today the day that you become better, that you look at how your excellence is going to improve. Amazing. John, you've been such a great guest and so insightful. Can you share with the audience how people can get in touch with you and who do you help?
Sure. As you stated in your introduction, my target market is companies in the $25 to $250 million range with a lot of latent potential, and they need some help figuring out how to harness it because they want to be the market leader. And I've got a right toolbox of things and planning and growth and operations and people. And coincidentally, it maps to a lot of what the book is going to be. But the way to reach me, go to my website, and it's www.middle, M-I-D-D-L-E, market, M-A-R-K-E-T, methods, that's plural, methods.com. And you can connect with me through there. By the way, I also write a quarterly, privately distributed value creation article that's pretty popular. And if anybody wants to be a subscriber to that, they can reach me the same way, and I'll be happy to share. But through the various manifestations, it's consulting, which you do. I love your fractional practice and spend a lot of time studying your website. We have a lot of themes in common. So I understand who you are and what you do. My primary target market historically has been portfolio companies of private equity firms. I know private equity is something you touch too. So why do they invest in these companies is for their latent potential. And my toolbox is part of what helps unlock it and scale it in a sustainable way. So the articles, speaking, consulting, and of course, I do some writing, and the book will come out next year. So I've just had a total blast. Again, if nothing else comes through in this visit, I love this stuff. I absolutely love this stuff.
Oh, it has absolutely come through. And all the details of how people can get in touch with you will be in the show notes below. But John, I have thoroughly enjoyed our chat, as I always do. It's always great fun. It's always packed with insight and just actionable things that people can do. So thank you for coming with us and being so very generous with your time, with your insight, and with your stories.
You have a great day. The pleasure was mine. I look forward to our paths crossing again in some way in the future. And all the best to your listeners and your clients.
Bless you. Thank you very much. And to everybody watching and listening, I hope you found today's episode to be as inspiring and insightful as I have. And until next time, take care.